Stadium and other city-owned ball fields continues in Joplin.
The president and Democratic nominee hold dueling rallies in the key battleground state of Florida today. I'm Natalie Brand with their campaign plans, plus why Democrats are celebrating another election ruling by the Supreme Court.
And we take a look at a few unconventional places where voters are casting their ballots.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Law enforcement investigate a homicide in Vernon County, Missouri. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, a homicide investigation is underway after a 63-year-old woman is found dead Wednesday morning. According to the Vernon County Sheriff Jason Mosher, her body was discovered at a home on Quail Road in the southwest corner of Vernon County near the Kansas state line. Both the Missouri State Highway Patrol Investigation Unit and the Bates County Sheriff's Office are assisting in the case. Joplin Sports Authority says it wants to be a part of the conversation when it comes to who will operate some of Joplin's ball fields. A company called Parkwood is asking the city to let it take control of several fields, including Joe Becker Stadium. Parkwood would use them to host a number of baseball tournaments. Joplin Sports Authority says they can do it better.
Potentially benefit the city more financially. And Parkwood, they are a for-profit, so it's going to benefit them as well. So we're just looking for the chance to do our jobs and do it well.
The Sports Authority plans to ask the council to give them some time to come up with their own offer. Well, we asked for it, and we've definitely been getting rain this week. Michael Hayslip joins us with the first look at the forecast.
Tanya, we've seen places in excess of 5 inches if you go back to Monday when the wintry stuff started, especially when you get south of I-44 where it's maintained mostly rain. And that's exactly where we pick up the Skywatch Storm Tracker right now. Positive aspect of today's soaker is we've been able to avoid any lightning, anything severe. But I want to focus in on this right by Indigo Sky Casino. Look at that thing coming down right now. On the west side of it, we're actually beginning to clear off just a little bit. But even with that being said, we still do have flood watches that are indicated in our darker green colors. And then right there south of Monette, that is actually a flood warning. That's that area that we'll concentrate on here in just a little bit that picked up about 5.5 to 6 inches of rain this week alone. Now, as the rain moves off, I tell you what, not much of a warm up today. That's thanks in part to a strong northerly breeze as we see temperatures ranging from the mid to high 40s. From the Freeman Health System sky camera, last wind that we recorded there, 14 miles per hour. That's not a gust, folks. Nope, that's going to be 15 to 20 miles per hour all day long. And that's why we got that 7-degree gap between the temperatures and what it actually feels like. See that 50 right there at that 3 o'clock panel? Man, we're going to be hard-pressed to see a whole bunch of 50s. But look at the top now. We are going to see some sunshine because what's going to happen is as this rain departs off to the east with sunset at 6:23 Central Daylight Time, everything rolls off. Going to be a chilly night. But look at this on the 7-day forecast. A chance to rebound our temperatures and get up pretty much close to, if not into the 60s, all the way toward the Halloween weekend. Tanya, coming up here in just a little bit, we're going to break down those rain totals. And since our rain is mostly done for the week, we're going to look at Halloween, see how the kiddos are going to feel when they take off for trick-or-treating, say about sunset about 6:20. So really getting dark about 7:20 come Saturday.
All right, sounds good.
Now remember, after that, I was giving you those sunset times. Don't forget about Sunday. Change that clock.
Yep, turn it back. All right, thanks, Michael. The Gulf Coast region is weathering the powerful punch of yet another storm. Hurricane Zeta has killed at least 3 people with high winds, heavy rain, and up to 10 feet of storm surge in some areas. Zeta made landfall in Louisiana as a Category 2 hurricane, packing winds up to 110 miles an hour. The storm destroyed a trailer in Plaquemines Parish. You can see it there. Damaged so much more. Overnight, more than 500,000 people were without power across the state. With just 5 days to go before Election Day, both President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are campaigning in the pivotal swing state of Florida today, where polls show a tight race. Natalie Brand has the latest on Campaign 2020 from the White House.
Joe Biden is spending the day getting out the vote in the crucial swing state of Florida, where the latest CBS News poll shows his lead within the margin of error.
Over 500 children are still not back with their parents.
The Biden campaign is stepping up its outreach to Latino voters with this ad about hundreds of immigrant children separated from their parents at the border. Biden has pledged to sign an executive order forming a task force to reunite families if he wins the White House. On Wednesday in Arizona, President Trump emphasized the importance of the Latino vote.
We're going to win a record share of the Hispanic vote.
The president is also focusing on Florida today. Both candidates have dueling events in Tampa. President Trump heads to another battleground state, North Carolina, this evening as part of his packed campaign schedule in the final sprint. CBS News has learned he plans to hold 11 rallies in the final 48 hours before Election Day. Legal fights over ballot counting are already underway, and the Supreme Court weighed in on two cases late Wednesday. In a defeat for Republicans in North Carolina and Pennsylvania, the High Court allowed late arriving ballots to count if mailed by Election Day. Newly sworn-in Justice Amy Coney Barrett did not take part in either case, a spokesperson saying she did not have time to review the filings. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
The Supreme Court decisions mean Pennsylvania officials can count ballots cast by Election Day and received within 3 days. In North Carolina, ballots can be accepted up to 9 days after Election Day. Early in-person voting kicked off today for Oklahoma. For the next 3 days, folks can avoid the Election Day rush by casting their ballot early. Now, early voting will be open at county locations both today and tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and again on Saturday from 9 to 2. And that's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, voting venues.
With voters casting ballots in record numbers, many cities are turning non-traditional locations into polling places. I'm Chris Martinez with some of the unusual alternatives.
And later, it's time to get spooky. We're making unbelievable barbecue weenies in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. With the coronavirus pandemic making in-person voting risky for some Americans, many cities are turning non-traditional locations into polling places to make sure voters can safely cast their ballots. Chris Martinez explains.
As a record number of voters head to the polls, where some of them are casting ballots this year looks a bit unusual.
I voted at Fenway Park.
With the coronavirus pandemic making social distancing a must, sporting venues have been transformed into polling locations across the country. From the KFC Yum Center in Louisville, Kentucky, to Philly's Union Stadium and Atlanta's State Farm Arena, to name just a few.
They're easily recognizable landmarks.
Michael Tyler is with More Than a Vote, a voter advocacy group formed this summer by LeBron James and other NBA stars. Together, they helped transform NBA arenas into voting locations.
They're not crowded into a small high school gym or a small, library hallway. They're able to safely congregate and exercise their right to vote.
Arenas and stadiums aren't the only places being repurposed for voters. Concert venues, like the Hollywood Bowl here in Los Angeles, are also being transformed into polling locations. And the list goes on.
This year, voters in Los Angeles can also cast ballots at the city's famed La Brea Tar Pits. In Texas, this drive-through location allows people to vote without ever leaving their car. And in San Francisco, the historic Neptune Society Columbarium, home to 8,500 cremated human remains, is now a polling site. Tyler says the alternative locations, no matter how unusual, are all about making sure voters feel comfortable casting an in-person vote.
Frankly, our hope is that we can actually make these arenas and these performance venues a permanent part of the voting infrastructure moving forward.
He hopes they help ensure a strong and safe turnout. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Besides sporting arenas, concert venues, and tar pits, people across the country are also voting at restaurants, laundromats, hotels, personal citizens' garages, and other non-traditional locations. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
Looking for something spooktacular to serve for Halloween? We've got it, so cross it off your to-do list. Stick around.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete Halloween forecast.
About another hour and a half left of our precipitation throughout southwest Missouri there, and I'm getting reports from our engineering department and our engineer Cale Garner that there's a bright orb that is beginning to show in the sky. And I realized that, I don't remember the last time we actually saw sun. Look at all the storm reports now that are beginning to pile up, because when we talk about the precipitation that we've seen in the last 24 hours alone, we're talking about almost 3.5 to 4 inches out in Chautauqua County. This portion of southwest Missouri has been inundated. In fact, if we go back to Monday when this whole thing started, we're almost up to 6 inches in this area right here by Monette, and then look out here on the western portion of southeast Kansas where we're easily in between 3 and 5 inches. So that's why we've got these flood watches that remain in effect all the way until 7 o'clock tonight. The bright green, that same area that we were talking about south of Monette, that is a flood warning. So we're already seeing county roads begin to flood right there. And so for our weather almanac, believe it or not, just in the span of 4 days, we've been able to catch up not only for the entire month of October, but now we're above our annual yearly total from where we'd anticipate being historically. So it all happened very, very quick. Now let's kind of reset, because as everything moves off to the east right here, I know that's of little consolation for those of you that want to dry out on the far eastern edges of our counties. But as we turn our attention out to the west, it is clearing out. As a matter of fact, hello, there we go. That's the old tower outside of Television City. Point that camera face up, and we are actually seeing some blue sky. And so that's why I know Cale was not lying to me there. He did see that orb we refer to as the sun. Even with the sun for the afternoon, it's still going to be chilly. 44 degrees is where we stand right now. And the reason it's not going to warm up at any time is because we've got to wait for this wind to shift. For the duration of our Thursday, it's going to work in from the north. What we want to see happen is it shift out to the west right here. So by the time we wake up tomorrow, it's actually going to be west to east and not as blustery as what we're seeing today, as we're going to ride between 15 to 20 miles per hour. Hard pressed to find a 50. You'll see a couple scattered the board. I'm going to go high 40s really is going to be the dominant temperature for our day. And then overnight, I'll tell you what, that cloud cover clears out. It's going to be chilly tonight into Friday morning. But here's the nice thing. As we push this out, I think by 2 o'clock, our rain's going to be done. Temperatures dropping straight back down. But now, as we work into Friday, very cool start, but then we're back up into the 50s on Friday, if not the 60s. So let's talk a little Halloween action here for the kiddos. All right, Saturday, you got day plans? It's going to be great. We're going to be up into the 60s. Now, sunset, let's go about 7:25. And look at this, 9 o'clock, 55 degrees on Halloween. Are you kidding me? It's absolutely perfect. And then, don't forget on Sunday, that's when we get to set those clocks back an hour. Tanya excited about that this morning, describing the fact that she hates the springtime when we set them forward, but loves the fact that we fall back in the fall.
Yeah, I love an opportunity to get an extra hour of sleep, if there is that, or an extra hour just to get something done.
So we conquered Halloween, we conquered daylight savings time. Tuesday, election day, gorgeous, mostly sunny, high 60s.
Sounds good. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Franklin McDonald in the U.S. Army. The soldier from Erie, Kansas, joined the Kansas Army Air Corps in 1942. Throughout his service, he earned 6 stars, the Good Conduct Medal, and 3 overseas bars. To Sergeant Franklin McDonald, we thank you, our four-state hero. If you're catering for Halloween, you'll want to include the favorites too. And today, Howard shows us a fun twist to the average Little Smoky. It's called Unbelievable Barbecue Weenies in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Is it just me, or does Halloween seem to get more and more popular every year? Between all the decorations that fill our stores and front yards to the countless Halloween get-togethers, this ghostly holiday has really taken off. So this year, whether you're hosting a Halloween bash or you just need something to bring to one, we've got you covered. It's super easy, budget-friendly, and eerily delicious. Let's get started. We begin by combining a bottle of barbecue sauce, cherry preserves, a few canned chipotle peppers that we've chopped, a bit of sauce from the peppers, and a bit of water. Now we'll heat this up. If you're thinking this sounds like an odd combo of flavors, You have to trust me on this one. Once it's hot, we add a couple pounds of cocktail-sized smoked sausages to the sauce, and we let it simmer. If you want, you could even throw everything in a slow cooker and serve them right from there. Either way, these are amazing. You get the smokiness from the sausage and the sweet and tanginess from the preserves and the chipotle peppers. To get the recipe for our unbelievable barbecue weenies, simply visit our website. Trust me, I'm not one to trick you. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found an unbelievably tasty way for you to say, ooh, it's so good. You left me one? Very sporty of you.
That looked cool. You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, adults can get a little buzzed on Halloween, but why not? And we've got the guide on the candy that goes best with your favorite drinks. The New York Wine and Grape Foundation released ideal pairings for a boozy Halloween. It recommends white wine with Skittles and red wine with Snickers. And for beer lovers, the Growler Guy says a porter goes best with Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. You can also try a Hefeweizen with Twix bars or a brown ale with Kit Kats.
Terrible Jolly Ranchers with everything.
Oh, yes. All right, here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
All hail the glow cloud. Shout out to Night Vale, the sun beginning to finally shine as we'll be done with the rain by about 2 p.m. Now remember, it's going to be a chilly overnight, but then we're headed back in the right direction for a delightful weekend with 60s on Halloween, probably about 50 when the kids head out the door. Now, over to Dow with a look at what's coming up tonight at 5.
Looking forward to that weekend. Now, although traditional trick-or-treating will be limited this year, there are plenty of ways to make the holiday fun, even during a pandemic. We're going to look at ways you can keep the Halloween spirit alive. Plus, voter turnout is already beating records. We're going to speak with the Jasper County election clerk about high turnout for absentee early voting. And Kansas Senator Moran stops in Pittsburgh today to visit with the Kiwanis Club. Hope you'll join us. KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dow. Thank you for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here, 5 o'clock.